At the start of spring, something interesting happens. The snow begins to melt. The ice softens. The ground starts to open up again. From a distance, it looks like movement is getting easier. But when you step onto the ground, it tells a different story. The surface is soft, unstable, harder to move through than it appears. Each step takes more effort. Progress slows down. Sales works the same way. Because sometimes, things look like they're improving, but underneath, the conditions have changed. Imagine you're in a conversation with a potential client. The discussion is moving forward. You've covered the problem. You've explained your solution. And on the surface, everything seems positive. Then the buyer says, "Let me take some time to think this through." It sounds normal, but experienced sellers hear something more, not resistance. Instability, because when conditions change, decisions become less certain. During a thaw, movement doesn't stop. It just becomes harder to predict. Sales works the same way. When buyers slow down, when timelines stretch, when decisions feel less certain, the conversation has shifted. The buyer is no longer just evaluating the solution. They're navigating the conditions around it. A thoughtful seller doesn't ignore this shift. They don't assume the deal is lost, and they don't push harder to force movement. Instead, they explore the conditions. The seller might respond, "That makes sense. As you think this through, what factors are most important for you right now?" Now the conversation changes. Instead of pushing forward, the seller is understanding what's shaping the decision. Instability doesn't only show up in what buyers say. Sometimes, it shows up in how they engage. Let's look at another example. You're working with a buyer over multiple conversations. Earlier, they were engaged. They asked questions. They explored possibilities. But recently, something feels different. Responses are slower. Follow-ups take longer. The energy in the conversation has changed. Nothing has been said directly, but something underneath has shifted. This is the thaw, because when conditions become unstable, people move more carefully, not because interest is gone, but because the ground feels uncertain. A strong seller notices this change. Instead of continuing forward the same way, they pause and acknowledge it. They might say, "I sense things may have shifted a bit. What's currently top of mind? For your team, this creates clarity. It brings the underlying conditions into the conversation, and it allows both sides to move forward with better understanding." Great sellers learn to recognize the thaw, not through obvious objections, but through subtle changes. Slower movement, less certainty, shifts in engagement. These are not random. They are signals that the environment around the decision has changed. And when sellers recognize that, they adjust. The thaw doesn't stop progress. It changes how progress happens. Sales works the same way. Buyers don't always explain what's influencing them, but the conditions are there, in how they respond, in how they decide, in how they move forward. And the seller who learns to see those conditions navigates the conversation with more control. Because the best sellers don't just focus on the path. They understand the ground beneath it, the success lens. Change the lens, change the outcome,